Alright, I just took a test shot, my 5D. Make sure the composition's right. I also did a shot with low ISO for the foreground. And what I'm going to do is combine the two images. One for foreground at dusk when it gets really dark, or fairly dark before it gets really, really dark, so I can still get some detail in the foreground. And I'm keeping a low ISO because I want the scene to be clean. And right now I actually shot at 100 ISO. But when it gets really dark, and it's actually clearing out quite nicely at the moment, when it gets really dark, when the Milky Way will be visible, or beforehand actually, I will raise my ISO up. I'll probably go about 6400 with this camera. And then of course I will change my white balance, because I actually have a warmer white balance for the foreground, but for the Milky Way I will change it to the white balance at Kelvin temperature, set Kelvin temperature at 3800 that I mentioned in a prior lesson. And then when I go in afterwards, I will merge the two together. Now I'll show you how to do it. I'll show you how to do it. It's actually very easy. As long as I do not move my camera, but I already know where the Milky Way is, and I've got the composition exactly where I want it as well. So the Milky Way is going to be about here. So it'll work out quite well, and it'll make a perfect merging. So as long as I don't move my camera. So I can use this image here, and then I will just use the sky for the Milky Way. And that way I can have a nice detailed foreground. I'll darken it a little bit, add some contrast to kind of help blend it in with the Milky Way. But that's how you get detail in foreground while you're shooting the Milky Way. You can't actually do it any good amount of detail in the foreground without actually shooting it during dusk or when there's enough light out. Otherwise, I mean, shooting at 2 minutes long, even then you still won't, you may get some detail, but generally you're not going to get any, or very, very little. In order to get the foreground and have it realistic, you can't do it too early either. And it just looks fake. Really, really fake. And you don't want fake. But time like this, when it's already getting dark, is perfect. Now, as you can tell, the moon is out. You can actually see it on the screen here in the upper right. But it's still early yet. By the time it gets dark enough to see the Milky Way, the moon will be pretty low on the horizon. It's going to make it from here on out more difficult to photograph the Milky Way unless I get up like super early in the morning, which at the moment I really don't want to do. Maybe for sunrise, but not for the Milky Way. I mean, getting up like 2 a.m. really for it. Right now, since the Milky Way is actually best in the evening, and it's hot, the core of our galaxy is highest above the horizon in the evening, it's better to get the Milky Way in the evening. But from here on out, it's going to be harder and harder. Right now, there's only going to be about 2 more months left of the Milky Way, or the core of our Milky Way being above the galaxy. The horizon. And the Milky Way is going to be above the galaxy. And after that, the Milky Way, the core of our galaxy, the center of the galaxy, will be starting to dip lower and lower in the horizon. It'll still be visible till about October, early October, not late October. So I got my camera, I got the composition, I got my T2i, I got that. I got the 24-105 on it, the f4, and I will shoot the Milky Way with it tonight, and I will show you how it will look. I guess you could say a starter camera, beginner's camera, and with a kit, well, not a true kit lens. This is actually an L series lens, but it's a kit for full frame. I don't have actual or crop censored kit lens, and I can still give you a good example of how the Milky Way can be photographed, how you can photograph it with a lightning boogers, photograph with a beginner camera.